Okay, it is 6:32. I call this meeting to order and declare a quorum. Happy New Year to everyone. It's nice to see your faces. Let's go ahead and kick off with reviewing the minutes from last month, and then we will go on to the rest of the agenda. Okay, so let's take just 2 minutes to review it. If you already have, great, but I know life happens, so if you want to reread it or read it for the first time, go ahead. Okay. I motion to approve the minutes. All in favor with a show of hands? See Adam? Great.
You need a second, but I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, minutes approved. And Joanna, no, Jeff will not be here tonight. Okay, so another celebratory piece, the school guide update. We, at this point, the press release has been emailed to the committee, as well as a little blurb if you wanted to, or if you were able to forward it on to your principal with the blurb included saying, thank you for your partnership. Here are the results and here's the final product. So thank you for that. Was everyone able to forward it on to the principals that actually responded to them? And did you receive any feedback? None.
No feedback, but I did send it out.
Great. Yeah, I didn't get any responses either. I just know everyone's so slammed right now, I figured.
I did. I got 3 responses, and they all said,
really?
Thank you for including me. So we can just use that as the blanket response from everybody, I think.
I'll take it, yeah. Oh, that's great. Anything else just about the school guide update and the press release and the principal piece? Any other feedback from it? Okay, the next big hot topic that we talked about a little bit last meeting are quarterly updates and the decision for what that looks like. So already there have been 3 schools that have been in touch with us. 2 of them had, I think, emailed a committee member prior to everything being published, or at least right around the deadline. And those schools are Metrolina Christian Academy and Sizner. So they sent their data to us and would like it included within the published spreadsheet. The next one, and I don't know if we've heard from them just yet, is there's actually a new charter school opening in Matthews, and at Matthews United Methodist, actually. So they reached out via the address to say, hey, can we get added to this? We're a new school that's opening in downtown Matthews. So that's 3 already, 2 of which I know we have their confirmed data ready to upload. Because I don't think we've heard back from the charter school just yet. Have we, Becky? Have we heard back from the person that's starting it? Okay. So it's just Sizner and Metrolina, which are 2 actually really strong options. Side note, Sizner is specific to students with particular needs. And it's right on Sardis Road. It's actually right across from Charlotte Prep. So proximity wise, it's a very close school to us. And it's also very specific to certain needs of kids that not every school offers. So it would be great if we could get that added. And then Metrolina Christian Academy also is just another strong school. So My question is anyone able within the data collection group to upload that information from these two schools just one more time? Can we clean it up and then republish it? And then whoever is able to do that, that would be great. And then my second piece is, let's maybe try to come up with a structure for, I think last time we talked about, is it quarterly updates? How often we want to go ahead and do this and publish it to the committee. Jenny?
So also, it's actually 3 schools because I had Phillips Academy reach out to me right before publishing. And, we had discussed possibly going back in right before we published, but I wasn't able to do so in that timeline. But we do have all of their data as well.
Okay. From the data committee, what is the easiest way to get that information uploaded? Is it that the people assigned to those schools? Remind me, for Metrolina and Sizner, who heard from those schools directly? Does anyone? I can't remember who.
That was me.
Jay. Okay, good. So you have theirs, and I have some of their data too. Is the easiest way for those people assigned to just go ahead and upload up into that document, and then someone on the committee to clean it up? What are your thoughts, everyone?
Recommendation I would suggest at this time is that they go into the development spreadsheet. That we've already had this sort of concierge kind of service, right, where you sort of have a relationship with the school. So Jay, if you're the concierge for that school, engage the school, get their information, plug it into the development spreadsheet, and then kind of let us know. We'll give it a shot and make sure it looks clean, and then move it into production so that they can update it on whatever website or whatever they want to do with it.
Yeah, I'll admit I've gotten a little lost in all the versions. Can you, Adam, do you have the link to the development copy?
Yeah, I can send you guys that. I can put that in the chat.
Awesome.
Thank you for that.
Timeline wise, is that something, Jenny and Jay, that you would be able to do before, I don't know, Friday of this week, and we can turn it around maybe next week? And for the data committee, does that work?
I'm going to do that this week.
Yeah.
If you gave me like 2 weeks, I could probably do it in a 2-week time.
Yeah, and I actually think I could probably do it, Jay, because I have the information. I think Becky sent it to me. If you'd like for me to, if you trust me enough to go ahead and upload it, I could probably do yours. I could knock that out this week.
Sorry, just our semester starting in a week, and it's
totally get it.
And as with everybody else, they keep changing the rules on us. So a lot's happening.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, Jay, I'll do that. And then Adam just put the link in here. And I'm going to put it in a safe spot just before I forget. Okay, for editing.
I feel like this is the best way to do it. Just like raise your hand. I'm happy to take that other charter school. I think it's Telra, and be the point person on that one. I think you guys said that they reached out to you, to Becky.
Yes, the one that's opening in Matthews. Yes, that would be great. They have not sent us their information yet, but as soon as they do, that would be wonderful if you could help with that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
Susanna, I can forward you the email from them so that you've got the contact information.
Sizner and Metrolina. Okay, and then for the additional updates, when should be the next time that we update the spreadsheet?
The last conversation was quarterly. We agreed that we would probably do some January updates because we just released it.
Yeah.
And inevitably we're going to get some feedback. But what I would suggest is that we just make a cycle at the end of every quarter. We take feedback from that quarter. And so we're looking at an end of March when we would probably be taking everything we've received, compile it, and start working through those updates. I think that also gives us a chance. between now and then there's a piece that we need to revisit, which is, are we going to maintain this kind of concierge approach where we're filling out a spreadsheet and things like that? Do we want to create an online form that we can direct people to? Do we want to have an online form? I'm kind of more of a fan of forms. I talked about that before because it lets us structure our data and spend less time cleaning it. But if we create the online form, we can also have a version that's like, okay, here, submit an update, and have them fill out things that way. And it could be different. But I think that needs to sort of be the next, kind of standardized, maybe reinvent that process a little bit.
I'm writing notes before I forget to standardize the form submission.
I can take it back. I'm willing to take it back and play with the form build. Okay. I would like and I know it exists, and I probably have it buried in my email box from back like last May, but
yeah,
at some point we ironed out, like, these are all the fields and kind of how we wanted it. And I know we went through several iterations. If we have the final document, let me take it. If somebody could resend that to me, I will spend time seeing if I can build out a draft form for people to check out. And then we can talk from there about what changes we would want to make.
Adam, are you thinking like a Google form that would just dump that into a Google sheet, and then we can manipulate?
Yeah. But I would also like to make it adaptive, because there are things that we've run into with the kind of data we get back where schools are formatting things in a way we didn't expect. Or I may be a school that I may want to go sequential through grades. Like, okay, do you offer kindergarten? Yes or no? If you do, answer these questions. If you do not, then go on to the next grade, and to take it all the way through, because instead they're sort of lumping data together, and then we're having to, it's not a great user experience, and we can't really render it cleanly. We just kind of left it as like a text blob, right? Mm-hmm. So I think these are all things we could revisit with the form, but I'd like to go back to the original. This is what we agreed, play with that, and then we can hash out anything new we want to add or remove from it.
I'm trying to remember, was it a spreadsheet of the initial questions? I'm going to have to look for that.
Yeah. I don't remember if it was in a spreadsheet or in a Word document. I just know we had probably 4 meetings where we went through, finalizing the questions. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. If I could just find a summary of what we agreed on.
Adam, couldn't we just pull that directly from the spreadsheet?
Yeah, maybe.
I put it in the chat, but are some schools missing? I don't see Bain Elementary. I know I'm trying to just check mine. I don't see Bain. That's one of mine.
Was Bain one of the ones is it a magnet school or?
Nope,
that's not a Matthews school, is it? Does anyone from Matthews go to Bain?
Yeah.
I also thought Bain was left off because it's technically in Mint Hill, but Joanna, if you got the data for it, then it should be on here.
We can upload it, yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely within the radius of area that we included.
Joanna, did you say you uploaded it, but you don't see it on the spreadsheet?
It's been there. It's been on the spreadsheet before.
I hate to do this, but if it's not there, do you still have the information, Joanna? Are you able to upload it again?
My worry is just that, like, if that one's missing, are there others that are missing also? So, I mean, I'm sure it's out. I'm sure it's there somewhere, I would presume, but I'll have to go back into our Google Drive and see. Something happened with the Adam, when you turned this into the development, all of my previous drafts of the compiled now just lead to your development one. So
all the previous drafts of your compile.
I just don't know what happened when, like, I compiled everything and now there's stuff missing. So I don't know. I'll go back and look, but I guess we need
to. I can see it. It's on version 1, but it didn't make it over to like 2, 3, or 4. So.
Let's see.
Actually, one of my other schools didn't make it on as well. Crossway Academy has been on it the whole time, but they're not on the published document either.
All right, I see some data for Bain. And then which other one?
Crossway Academy. They were like one of the first schools to respond, so I haven't thought about them since we started.
So I wonder if it would benefit us to maybe double check each of our schools just to confirm, and maybe, and what I'll do is I'll start a side note. Crossway.
So Crossway is on version 2. Bain is not on version 2.
This is why we didn't get responses back. They opened it and they were like, "We're not on it."
Bain is not on version 3, but Crossway is on version 3.
So I see Crossway and Bain. Did anyone else have schools that they're realizing that they were assigned to them that may be missing?
I hate to put it on us because then we've got Dane who isn't part of us anymore and his schools need to be checked. So is it possible for someone to just check all version 1 and
there were 39 on, it looks like there's 39 schools originally on version 1.
There's 41 on version 4.
Sorry, 40 schools, not 49, 39. And there's, so I'm like, how do we end up with more? But we're missing some. It's a quandary.
I think it's because we added some of the CMS schools.
Yeah, and we'd have to look at the number of columns. So I don't know. We'd have to. That was pre some of the data from CMS being merged in, and that was when we were still in a horizontal layout. Yeah, I would just say everybody, double check your schools. If they're not there, we'll add them.
I'm glad to check Dane since he's no longer here, but it would be in everyone else's best interest just to check your own schools. CMS obviously has been handled, but if everyone checks the schools that were assigned specifically to you, and just confirm that they're listed, that would be helpful.
And what I would do is in the development spreadsheet in version 4, add a row for your respective school and plug in your data. If you need to, if it was in like the version 1, which is a horizontal, format, and you can either manually field to field, or you can convert it so that it's a vertical and move it in, and then we'll just let us know when those have all been synced up. But yeah, double check your schools. I'm not sure, at what point things would have gotten dropped or why. I know we had several schools that we didn't have confirmation, or we had some reason to believe that they weren't active and things like that. Some of those got disabled, but I don't remember removing any other schools.
So Adam, I know you said you saw Crossway on one of the previous spreadsheets. I actually don't have that data anymore.
It's the same spreadsheet that I put the dev link in.
Okay.
Okay. So every time we made a major change, we did a copy of the table. So you've got multiple versions in there.
Oh, I see.
So if you go back to prior versions, you can look to see if there's something that got dropped.
Okay.
It's always possible. That's why we keep development notes. I mean, if we don't have development notes, we try to keep versions.
Yeah. This might be a little bit cleaner. Why don't we do it this way? Maybe email me. I know I have a couple of direct messages, and I appreciate whoever wrote me about Dane's ones that are missing that knew off the top of their head, and I'll relook at that. But maybe send me an email of the school if any of your schools are missing. Actually, send me an email either way of either confirmed my schools are listed or whichever schools are missing, and then I can have it all in one place so that we know how to move forward with updating. Okay. Let's give ourselves, I don't know. Within a week, before next Tuesday, just email me if you're missing your schools or if you've confirmed, and then I can play around with the ones I have to add still.
Yeah, I think this is all just the January maintenance. Okay, so we validate our list. Plug in your rows if they're not there. If there are schools that want updates, plug them in on version. Why don't we go ahead on this? We'll make a copy of version 4. I'm going to duplicate it so that we have sort of a record time. We're going to create V5, and everybody apply their edits to V5. There's a new tab for version 5, which is a copy of version 4 right now. Okay, so version 4 is where we were in December. Okay, version 5 is now up. That's our January edits. If there are any rows that need to be added for schools, double check your assigned schools. If there are any edits from the schools that you've had, we apply those here. You guys would email us when you're done. We can just do a quick check on it, do any cleanness needed, and then we'll move it into production.
Okay. Does everyone know what I'm talking? What Adam's referencing, or do you want me to show you what he's talking about just quickly? Or are you okay? Thumbs up if we're good. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes. I had to look at. I'm a visual, so just in case you're wondering, at the bottom there's he has different tabs that he's organized. Of course, you can't see it right now. Oops. But at the very bottom, there are different tabs, and you'll be able to see V5 at the very bottom. There we go. He means to click on this. These are our January edits. Okay. Okay, by Tuesday, and I'll recap this in an email by Tuesday. V5 tab. Okay. And then the next update will be in March, and part of the February meeting, I'm hearing talking about the format of a standardized format of how to upload these by schools, for the schools. Okay. Anything else specific to the quarterly updates decision? And then I have that I'm going to do Seisner and Metrolina, and then Susanna, you're going to be my contact for this new school that is hopefully opening. And Jenny, you're going to upload Phillips Academy.
Yeah, I'm still, I'm going through, I went through all Adam's versions, and I'm just going through my emails right now because all of the versions doesn't have any data for Crossway. So I'm just trying to find my original spreadsheet copy that I had sent them to make sure that their data gets put back in there.
Crossway is in version 1, it's column R. It's in the V1 tab.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay.
Crossway is also in version 2, row 5.
Mm-hmm. No, I found them in the spreadsheet, but I'm saying I don't see their data there.
There's data there. I'm even seeing it in 3. I'm just kind of looking around. It looks like
Adam, it looks like that data is actually a column that's bleeding over.
Yeah, from the one before. It's just not wrap text.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I'm looking at version 3 and I see data. Well, there's a lot of columns. There's a lot of data missing.
Yeah. So the only thing that's in there is what I had directly put in. I don't know if you recall in the beginning, we had put in the principal's name, the email address, and the school website. And then the school went in and then responded. And then we had made a copy of each school. And then we sent those completed spreadsheets to someone. I don't remember who. I'm trying to find the emails. But my completed spreadsheet for Crossway never made it into.
Gotcha. It never got merged in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't see a lot of data in any of these versions here, but it looks like it got dropped somewhere along version 3 or 4 for some reason.
Okay. So we will look at that, and I will send a follow-up note to everyone, just recapping what we've discussed about next steps for the updates and double checking from the January update. Anything else specific to the quarterly updates and decisions? Okay. The next piece is the call for nominations and appointments of positions. And before we kick off, I wanted just to give a heads up. I know Jeff isn't here tonight, but the mayor is interested in MCE being what's it called? I think it's called an ad hoc. Becky, am I using the right term?
Yes, ad hoc. Yep.
I want to make sure committee in the future, which would mean it would still meet monthly for any topic, but it wouldn't need to necessarily meet monthly if there wasn't any current business. So I guess it gives a little bit more flexibility to the model. MCE could be called upon to meet about a new topic if they wanted to, or if the board assigned one to the group, but that would be the tweak moving forward. And is it definite, Becky? Is it a definite change, or is it likely going to happen?
I think a lot of it is really driven by this group. I think the school resource guide is a great example of a reason to continue to meet as that gets hammered out. But as that starts to maybe become a little bit more cyclical or annual, there's going to be some downtime in between. So, certainly looking for feedback from the group. If you guys feel really passionately that there are, other topics that you want to take on, that would require the need to continue to meet monthly, certainly I can take that feedback to him, and I think it's up for additional discussion. But otherwise, it would be okay if this group moved more formally into the ad hoc status. And then as things came up, either that the board assigned to this group, we could call you back and say, hey, we want to have you guys take up X issue. And then you start meeting again on whatever that issue is. Or if something is coming from this group that you say, hey, we think this is important and we want to meet, it can work both ways, but it would just remove some of the kind of traditional requirement that exists with some of our other committees to just continue to meet monthly. We do have some other board committees that are in the ad hoc status. So this is not the only one. Some other groups have moved to that just because it made sense for their particular area. So certainly looking for feedback and thoughts, before we say, yes, we definitely want to move in this direction.
Opening it up to the committee. Feedback, thoughts?
About whether or not we become an ad hoc committee?
Correct.
I'm not a favor of meetings for the sake of meetings. I've never been a huge favor of just repeat automated, gatherings. If there was no agenda, I would like to have the option to cancel. Right. I don't keep a held repeating meeting in any other context of my life if I don't need it. But, I do think that there are other issues related to Matthew's education that we could be diving into that go beyond, a school resource.
Yeah, Adam, I would agree with you. I think for me to make that decision, I would have to really think about, are there things that we want to really deeply pursue and have some time to brainstorm what those would be and et cetera. I agree, Adam, if we don't commit to doing any of those, then no, I don't think this committee has a lot of work to do. But I completely agree, again, Adam, that I think there is a lot of work that can be done that this committee can do. So
the committee was formed at the interest of the town officials. And there were specific items that they were interested in. Some of those were discussed early on, and we've had some leadership change. And so I guess, the vision for this committee, if we are in fact in service of the town leadership, I kind of wonder, what do they care about right now? I don't particularly want to make work for the board. We're here for a purpose. And anyway, I don't know. I think things have changed a lot.
I think things have changed a lot, and it's fascinating. We've had a full agenda. I think every meeting we've had talking points or something specific to either the guide or remote learning or the town that we've reflected on. So, and I don't know if this is, Becky, is this a decision that has to be made today? Is it something to think about, reflect, and then move forward come or the next meeting to talk about it a little bit more?
Yeah, I would go with the latter. There's no pressure. It was just something that came up in discussion with him. Commissioner Miller wasn't able to be here tonight, so he wasn't able to obviously share his thoughts on it. And Joanna, obviously, again, to reiterate, if there are things that the group wants to pursue, even in an ad hoc status, there's certainly the ability to do that. So it in no way limits. To me, it's a move towards flexibility. Like Adam said, if there isn't anything, it's nice to not have to sit there and look at each other and, not have a lot to talk about. But if there are things, by all means, I think this group plays a really important role in this space. And I just want to say this has been a joy for me. I had no idea what to expect when I got assigned to this, but you guys are great. And I think you do really wonderful work. And so I think there's a lot of value in the brain trust that is this group. So, I certainly don't want to see that go away.
The only thing that I was recently thinking about was about enrolling my son in preschool next year, and something like what we just did for K through 12 would be super helpful for preschool, but I don't know if that is under the umbrella of public education in Matthews since it's not public. So just a thought, but there are a lot of preschools that have either closed recently because of COVID and a lot that are opening. It's very interesting. So
I think a couple takeaways that I was thinking about, now that we've sort of got this first draft of the resource guide up, is through the process, I think we really discovered just how hard it is for families to get this information. I mean, look at how hard it was for us. And, so imagine if you're a new person just moving to the area, or, gosh, I've lived here 20 years and I didn't even know some of those schools existed. So I think one of the things we learned is that there's a lot more work to do in really trying. The resource guide's a great step, but it's going to need constant updating. I think we might need to really think through, how do families in Matthews understand education options even beyond just this resource guide? There's got to be other ways. And like Susanna just mentioned, we haven't even talked about, childcare or preschools or childcare was a major topic at the beginning of COVID. And, the town did an awesome job just very, very, very quickly trying to put that together. But look at all the governmental legislation red tape that was behind that. If this gets worse or, oh my gosh, if something else were to happen, think about how hard it is for parents to get what they need. And I think COVID brought that up pretty clearly. So I think there's more for us to dive into as far as being informed or access to education from birth to age 18, right? And when COVID and remote learning and access, right? Let's think about, there's a lot of families that do not have access, and virtual learning really brought that to attention, right? I think we really need to think through that quite a bit as far as disparities in access and economic. There's just a lot more to dive into. I think we've only hit the tip. So to say we did the resource guide, awesome, let's move to ad hoc, we don't really need to meet. I don't even think we've come close to where we need to dive. I think we learned a lot of lessons in this process, and there's a lot. And the other thing, I think this might be my last point, that I really took away from that process is just how hard it was to get these partnerships, these schools in Matthews to actually respond to us. And we are representing the town, and they still wouldn't even respond to us, whether that was distrust because of some of the past things, I don't know what that was, but for schools and principals to not even respond to us, not to say, hey, we're busy right now, can we get back to you? It wasn't even that. We had to have Jeff intervene to get CMS to even respond to us. So I also think there's maybe some work to do as far as relations and partnership. I just think there's a lot that we need to think about that this committee could actually be doing.
So I think those are great comments, Kristen. I think what might make sense is, this is obviously a moment of transition for this group between the resource guide being up, and then there's going to be some leadership adjustments amongst the folks here. And so maybe the agenda suggestion for next month's agenda would be kind of just a brainstorming session of where this group wants to go from here. And if you can get consensus of the group on what that is, then can type that up. And I think it would be a great thing to present to the board or send to the board, to the town board, to get some feedback and make sure that there's buy-in and support for that direction. And then that can be, kind of the next iteration of this group. I think, the decision of whether or not to adjust to ad hoc or keep it as is, it would make sense to be kind of all part of that. If it's a heavy agenda, then I don't think it would make sense to make that formal transition to ad hoc if there's enough that's going to clearly be filling up a number of months of work for this group. But that might be a clearer path forward that would also help some of the board members who, maybe think of this group as it sort of was born out of this controversy with CMS. And, but this group is clearly saying we see so many other ways that we can be of assistance to the community. These are what we want them to be. That might also help create some additional understanding with board members that, makes sense for this group to continue in those areas.
And Becky, this is a great transition to the call for nominations and appointment of positions. Just knowing that summary of what the next steps are for the meeting next month, which brainstorming, what are our next moves and what does this committee look like? So the perfect transition, Becky. Couldn't have done it better myself. So there are three positions: the chair, co-chair, and secretary. So just thinking of those three. So Becky, you may have to help me with this. Is there any interest in a committee member being the chair for MCE? Or any nominations for chair?
I'm just going to say, I don't think we did any behind the scenes Survivor style plotting of who were we all going to ambush nominate.
Is anyone interested in self-nominating for chair?
Does anyone want to rock, paper, scissors?
Well, let me ask Kristen, as vice chair, would you be interested in stepping up one level to full chair?
Thank you, Jay. I wish that I had the time commitment for that, but honestly, right now I'm being pulled in a few different directions. So I don't feel that I can quite make that jump. Now, I also want to mention, and I don't know, Becky, I know that the board was very interested in having somebody with an education background in that position. I work in healthcare, so I really don't have an education background, because they also went to, I can't remember the name of the education, the MEAC or something like that. So I know, I think everybody here except for me maybe has an education background. So, maybe I think that somebody with an education background would probably be more suited for the chair position than I would. But thank you, Jay.
Well, in the interest of picking on you more, Kristen, would you be interested in, to jump ahead, when we discuss the vice or co-chair, in continuing in that role?
I'm sorry, my internet was going in and out, and I completely just missed everything that you said.
Would you be interested in staying as co-chair, remaining as co-chair? Was what Jay asked.
So, I mean, if I certainly don't want to hold on to being co-chair if somebody else is interested in stepping into it. I will step down so that someone else has that opportunity. So if there's somebody else interested in co-chair, I would definitely step down. But if no one else is interested in that, then I would be happy to stay.
Is anyone else interested in the co-chair role or any other nominations?
I'm going to sort of reiterate what Kristen said, which is that there is, I have also heard it mentioned that they would like someone within the education industry. And I have been that, but I'm not that now. I work in corporate, and I work in corporate L&D and performance. So I think that because this serves a larger group of public sector education, I think someone in public sector education should probably be the chair. That's just my suggestion. I'm feeling okay, and I'm going to volunteer Jay. Actually, it would be my nomination if we're going to replace the chair, because the guy that speaks first is the guy that assumes the word. That was a joke on the tail end, but no, really, I do have confidence in Jay, and I think that him working in the public education sector still leans that credence to it.
I appreciate that, Adam, but I'm not interested in the position, and I think actually it would be better served along those lines by someone involved in primary, secondary education specifically. But thank you.
Well, that leaves 3 people left. So we're narrowing it down.
I mean, you're leaving 3 people who have little kids. I know I put my finger on the nose. I am happy to stay in secretary because I do it, and that's fine. If we have a space where no one can do it, I don't want to leave our board in a position, but I also want to make the space for someone else. I also have to acknowledge I don't know that I have the time to do it, or that my poker face is nearly as good as Aaron's. So
this is the problem. This is the problem, Aaron. You've been too good at this.
Oh, please, no.
Nobody wants to follow in your footsteps.
No, I'm grateful and humbled, and I wish that growing responsibility at school, leading a school during COVID, it's just, tonight you all heard the announcement about everyone going virtual. It's becoming a 24/7 job that I unfortunately have to prioritize, focusing on surviving this school year and probably next year, unfortunately, with the way things are going. But I did hear a couple things that I want to summarize. I heard, and please correct me if I'm misspeaking, Kristen, I heard you say that if nobody else is interested in co-chair, you would remain as co-chair. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then, Joanna, I heard that you would remain as secretary if no one else is interested.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we want to vote on those and just move forward with that? Just to, Becky, is that what we do next for those 2 positions?
Yeah, I would vote on them separately, but I do just want to share, I was just perusing the bylaws really quickly, and my reading, I can probably share my screen here. I'm better seeing things than hearing. Some of you may be the same way. So under the bylaws, if you look at that last sentence here on the page, I'm reading it as the chair may be appointed as the MEAC representative, but it is not necessarily a requirement that they be one and the same. So I would, I guess I would say, first and foremost, when we're looking at a chair, let's maybe focus on this group. And then it would be up to the board if there was a different skill set or background that they were looking for out of the MEAC rep that this chair didn't have, then that would be their prerogative to perhaps pick a different representative of this group who may not hold, any officer role amongst the MCE group. So I just want to make sure that we're separating those 2 as part of the discussion, unless someone is reading that differently, but that's how I read that. So I just want to make sure that this group is clear that if you're maybe interested in being the chair, but don't want to be the MEAC rep, I think we could probably arrange that.
Becky, I'm glad you shared this because it looks to me like we don't have the authority to elect our own chair. The chairperson shall be appointed by the Board of Commissioners.
So what we would do in this case is we would want this group to provide a recommendation for that position. So we would be able to report back and say the group talked, so-and-so either volunteered or was voted upon, and then look to have the board affirm that. But it looks like you're right, Jay. So I appreciate you pointing that out as well. So it's not like that with every group, but it looks like this is one of them. But we would at least take a recommendation and a vote from this group.
I still agree. I think, Jay, I think you would be great at it if you were interested.
I had one specific instruction from my wife for this meeting, which is to not be elected.
I know marriages are really hard to keep together right now, so I will respect that. I will say that, Kristen, if you're worried about that education piece and the MEAC, I don't mind being the MEAC person if that's the only thing holding you back from taking chair. I've been trying to watch Susanna and Jenny's face to see if they have any, like, well, maybe I would if someone like.
I know they're keeping kind of quiet over there. Like they're either trying to dodge it or they're waiting for their moment to speak up. Either one, and I can't figure out. They got some good poker faces going on over there, man.
Let me, because you're Joanne, I think you might have just gotten yourself into trouble. Because my reading.
So I know a lot. I mean, I taught in CMS. I'm so like politically active that I know a lot of this drama and stuff and people, and so if that's the only thing holding us back from having.
But my reading of the bylaws were that only the chair is the only person who could be appointed by the Board of Commissioners to serve as the MEAC.
Okay, then I nominate Joanna for chair then.
Becky, would it be possible to show us that again?
Yeah.
So if you want, let me just make sure, because Becky was giving me the nod off, so.
So I read that last sentence, Jay, as they may if they so desire, but that they don't have to.
Right. I read it as if the Board of Commissioners decides to appoint anybody from the MCE as the MEAC, it has to be the chair. But they don't have to they don't have to send the chair as the MEAC rep.
I think the board can basically nominate anybody they want as a representative. They probably would just default to the chairperson first.
Okay.
They have the same kind of thing on when I was on EDAC, you know, there are economic development groups and the chair would be the default, but somebody else on the committee often would serve. So I think there's some flexibility there, but ultimately any representation is still usually confirmed by the council. So we come up with our recommendation and they decide what they want to do with it. So, I mean, so if Jay, I get it, you know, because it's tough. Joanna, I mean, who do you, I know you're saying secretary, you don't have capacity to want to take a larger role, or you're good with where you're at, and it sounds like Kristen's good where she's at. Or are people still thinking?
Just throw it out there. I think Susanna and I are both maybe in a similar situation. We both have young children, and I think we're both overwhelmed in the education field right now with this constant, you know, flux of teaching at home with our kids home and going back. Like, I just know I personally am not looking to take on anything extra responsibility wise. But Becky, I did overhear in the beginning before our quorum started that you did mention that we were able to, you know, sit on this if need be for a meeting. I mean, so I just want to throw that out as a possibility. If we are all at the standstill, we could, self-reflect and reflect about each other over the next month and possibly come back to it.
So I was planning on maybe self-nominating for co-chair or secretary. I don't know if I can jump straight into chair, but just to be completely transparent, I do have 2 young kids, but I am not teaching right now. So I don't want to pretend like I'm also teaching at home, because that would be, I don't even think I could do this. I don't know how you do it, Jenny. But I would love to be more involved. I don't know if I can do what Erin did. Just because
please.
I think that's a big point of it, that you are in education right now and I'm not currently teaching. I don't know.
But I think stepping back and having a better perspective where you're not in the trenches actually could be a helpful thing. And I want to say, I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old. So I've lived this, and I do feel it's manageable. And I obviously am willing to help in whatever way I can help transition this next person into this role. So especially with the flexibility, I think coming up, this was such a huge project. I feel like we're in such a great place. So just know I'm not signing off, that I'm still here to partner with whoever to get the next person up and running. Well, it seems like we just need to sit on it and think about it a little bit more.
So if you want to at least take action on the 2, or if there might be some movement as people reflect, you could sit on all 3.
Could there be co-chairs? That's a good question. Could there be co-chairs?
You would
co-chairs.
I would say there would be one that the board would, I guess, nod to as the official person. But the bylaws do say that in the absence of the chair, the co-chair runs the meeting. So it's something that if 2 of you wanted to tag team, maybe trade off meetings or something like that. I'm not sure that there would be anything explicitly prohibiting that, if that helps something feel a little bit more manageable. But
I'm going to pitch encouragement.
Meeting, it would be the chair.
Can I make a recommendation? Erin,
I'm going to have to. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I have to hop on a 7:30 call now, because they just the health department just required everyone to go virtual. So I'm so sorry, but my boss's boss called my husband to say, hey, can she hop on a 7:30 call? So what I'll need to do is, Kristen, if you could just wrap up the meeting and last thoughts or whatever it is,
sure.
and maybe update me or text me, and then I will be in touch. Obviously, I have some emails to push out anyway, so I'm sorry about that, but school during COVID, keeping us busy. Okay, so sorry about this, but I'm going to have to leave. Thank you. Okay, bye.
All right, thanks, Erin. Okay, yeah, she's in a bit of a bind. And my internet kind of keeps going in and out, so hopefully I don't freeze or you guys don't freeze. What I was about to say is I was going to ask, and I could always email her after if we all think it might be helpful, but I was thinking, I was wondering if Erin might be willing to just type up something quickly about maybe all the, I know she puts the agendas together, sends the minutes out, runs the meeting, but what are all the behind the scenes things that she does? And maybe, I don't know, how many hours a month does she think that takes? And maybe just give us a little bit more of an idea of what the time commitment actually is, and maybe what all she has felt like she's been asked or called to do behind the scene, like emails, Becky, with, things that we as the rest of the committee might not be privy to. We don't really know what's going on between meetings, right? And there's probably a lot of communication going, I'd be interested in knowing how much time commitment it was and all the different things that she has to do. I mean, I might is a big word there, but I might consider stepping up If Susanna then wanted to be co-chair and Joanna could stay secretary, if I maybe knew a little bit more about what I was getting into. I think right now I'm just sort of fearful of what I'm getting into because it feels like a big commitment. And maybe it's not as big as I think it is. So I don't know if she would be willing to maybe put something or Becky, you might have more of an idea that you could even share with us right now.
Yeah, I hate to speak for her since obviously I'm not included on everything. But yeah, Kelly, we love the little show and tell of the little kiddos. It's hard for me to say because what I see, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of extra. I think she probably checks that email account pretty regularly. She's been pretty responsive when I've sent things. So there's that little bit of an extra burden. I'm not sure how she's connected, if it's just a quick app on her phone or even incorporated into a collated email. If I had to guess, I would think it's probably less than 5 hours a month. But again, I hate to speak for her. But I think it's a great suggestion, Kristen, that I'm sure she'd be willing to do. So I'm happy.
So I guess I'm asking. Yeah, I guess I'm asking if everybody else feels that might be helpful, like Susanna, if that might help you make a decision between chair or co-chair. Like, I guess I'm suggesting or motioning, whatever. I don't even know what we have to do. This is why I think Jay would be a good chair because he knows all these rules, but I'd have to research all these rules. But I guess setting a motion or whatever we need to say about maybe asking Erin to give us a little bit more detail about what she does, postponing our vote maybe until next month if she's willing maybe to serve as chair one more time, or I can certainly serve as like interim chair for February while we try to make a decision. I don't know what the rules, Becky, are even with that, if she's stepped down, if she can serve one more month, or if we can do an interim chair. I don't know what the rules are, but I guess I'm suggesting maybe that we get a little bit more information if none of us are really feeling too comfortable, and then making a decision next month, especially too if we're going to be talking about, are we going ad hoc, are we not, and what do we see our vision as a group being. Like, it sounds like our agenda for next month is really brainstorming, like, hey, where do we want to go from here? And who wants to be, like, depending on what we decide what we want to do, might decide on who wants to be chair of all of that. So I feel like we're kind of at a turning point right now, and it might be helpful to maybe make a decision next month.
I don't want to, sorry, go ahead, Becky.
Oh, I was just going to say, I can just shoot Erin an email. I don't know that it needs to be a formal action by this group with that request for her to just let you all know a little bit more behind the scenes information. So I'll take care of that. And then, so if there's no action tonight and there's no changes, then what we've done with other groups is it basically just defaults to current. And if Erin, I'd have to go back and reread. I think she was officially saying that tonight's meeting was her last meeting. So I hate that she had to jump off so suddenly. She's done such a great job for this group. But
is she just not going to be on the committee at all, or is she just stepping down from chair?
No, she was actually needing to step away completely. So that was a more recent development. I think she had originally intended to step down just as chair, and then she made the decision that with life's circumstances, she's got to actually step away completely. So I don't think she's going to be attending the meetings with any regularity in the future. I think knowing Erin, she would still jump in if the group said that they needed or wanted her for anything, but she won't be a formal part. So what would happen in that case is until a new chair is formally appointed, Kristen, you would just serve in that capacity. And then Joanna, you would just continue as secretary until a new one was formed, is what we've done with some other committees that have had a little bit of a gap between action.
Okay.
That does bring up that it leaves us at a third of the committee, like, empty. If Kelly's not a voting member and Dane is gone, and now Aaron is gone, it makes me feel some feelings about doing this without having a full committee and then bringing 3 people on who are, effectively, purposefully, in my opinion, left out of role deciding.
That was kind of my question, is where are we with backfilling the seats, and getting the interviews, which I know would, I guess there's the transition doesn't have great timing, but it is what it is, right? I would like to encourage Kristen. I understand everybody's got a lot of load. You stepped into the co-chair in the beginning. You've had some very specific thoughts on the committee. I think that you could do well in the chair position. And I think that the stuff about process, you've got people on here that can help with that. So I don't think that stuff should be a barrier to you, but I don't want to, I'm just encouraging, not trying to sell it. I would just encourage you. I don't think there's anything that says you couldn't do it. And I think this would be a great opportunity for Susanna to step up into a leadership role if she wanted to be the co. So I think that's a viable team. We fill in 3 more people. We get them kind of doing some things too. If you're worried about the number of hours, leverage the new people we bring in to do some of the work and make sure you don't get overburdened.
Yeah, I appreciate that vote of confidence. I promise I will think about it, but I just don't want to make a very sudden decision on the spot right now. And I know we are a little bit over our agenda for closing here. So I think let's just really quickly, if y'all don't mind, I do want to discuss kind of, Becky, where our next steps are with filling those last 3. And then if you could email Erin to see if she would just send us maybe a list of her responsibilities and time, and we can definitely, we'll have time to think. Susanna and I and anybody else can have time to think between now and the February meeting. But I do think we need to kind of move forward with filling those spaces. I didn't realize that she was stepping down completely. I thought she was just stepping down from chair, and we do already have spaces to fill anyway. So Becky, where are we with past applications that haven't expired, or what we need to do with that?
Yeah, so Erin I'd sent her a couple of applications that we'd received previously. I think 2 of those were still active. I think the 3rd person had decided, after submitting, that they could no longer make the time commitment. So every committee does their interviews a little bit differently. So Kristen, if Erin hadn't gotten with you, I'm not sure if she had gotten that far to think about how to interview. So I'm not sure that there's been any contact made with those 2. So that would be the first place to start. We happen to be coming upon a time period that our clerk is going to be advertising for open committee positions, period. So there's going to be a call for applications from the community anyways. And so these open positions will be part of that call. And so in light of how long we've had those other applications and the timing that we happen to be at with the others, it might make sense just to wait so that there's hopefully a larger group to then pick from, because you're not sure if you just were to move forward with the 2, could you be, giving spots to people that maybe in hindsight you would have wanted to wait once you saw who else was there. So, honestly, from a responsiveness standpoint, we don't typically get dozens and dozens and dozens of applications. I think there was a healthy response when this group was originally formed. But I know when we got those last couple of applications, there wasn't a strong response. So it's hard to say how it will go. It kind of ebbs and flows is what we see with some of our committees. Is you'll kind of randomly get a strong crop, and then the next time we're out asking, it feels like nobody saw the ad. So it can be a little hit or miss. But that process would be. I can check with our clerk. I think it's coming in the next few weeks because she mentioned it last week. And so if it's going to be a lot longer than that, maybe we can think about trying to do something else But if it's coming up in pretty short order, that would be my recommendation to the group, is to just wait and hang on. But that could leave a meeting or two before this group would be able to reasonably get through the applications. And then the recommendations would go to our town board for formal appointment on the committee. So that whole process can take just a little bit.
Okay, so we have what you're saying is we have 2 applications right now, and then that would really be it. So we'd either have to go ahead and interview and accept both of them, and then we'd still have we'd have 1 spot left. So we either automatically take both of them or we wait just a couple more months. What's the group's thought process on that?
For me,
I'm okay with waiting to see what the new pool brings in, especially because these applicants, I think, Becky, if I recall correctly, they're like 5 months old now, because you said we get new ones every 6 or 8 months or something. So I think we should wait, because especially with COVID and everything transpiring, I think a lot of people's interests have changed. So I think if anybody is going to apply during this time, then those would be people or candidates that would truly be interested in joining or be passionate about serving on a committee. So my vote is, to wait, but that puts obviously more responsibility on you, Kristen, because you would serve as our, chair temporarily.
What's everybody else's thoughts?
I agree with that. It then makes me even more torn about do we delay our work until we have them because their voices should be valued and part of that? Or do we not delay because our work is urgent? Although I don't know, now I'm struggling with that. But I do agree with waiting to a point until we do the reapplication process.
I think too, it might be good for us to perceive as far as what's our vision for this committee and what further projects we want to do, because then when we're letting, when we're interviewing and we're letting candidates know, we can say this is some of the work we plan on doing this year. Does that still interest you? Are you this is what we've done. And from that, we've learned all of this. And so this is the way we want to proceed. I mean, it might help them if we kind of know what direction we're going. So I don't know. I do want to say, though, is that if even one person misses a meeting, we're no longer in quorum, right? So we'll have to be careful about that if we're trying to vote on things. But if we're not trying to vote, we can still discuss, right, Becky? We just can't vote.
That's correct. Mm-hmm. Just can't take action. Okay.
Well, for the sake of time, then, if everybody is good, I think we've come to a good point where we will, if you can check with the town clerk, we'll wait as long as that process isn't going to be too far out. We'll wait to get new candidates for that. We'll ask Erin to just write up a quick, doesn't have to be elaborate, doesn't have to be, 3 pages, just a quick paragraph maybe of what all she feels that she does, top priorities, and maybe the amount of time she feels like it takes her per month. And then it sounds like our agenda for next month then will be really brainstorming maybe where we want to go with it, discussing more on our office positions then to see where we wanted to go with voting on that. And then we've all got about a week to make sure that our schools are on that guidelines. So she did say email her though for that in the next week. So I'm guessing she's still planning to work for a few more weeks.
It seems that way.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we could all just check, email her in the next week, she'll get back with that. And then I feel like there was one last thing we were going to put on our agenda for next month that I'm forgetting about besides the brainstorming. Joanna, can you help refresh my memory there?
Sure. I think we were just going to do the final data approval before it publishes is what I have.
Okay. Great. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else, does anybody have anything else to add before I hear a motion to adjourn? All right. Hearing silence. Does anybody Can anybody
Motion to
signal?
adjourn.
All right. Adam, do we have a second? All in favor? I don't know if I saw a second. I'm just skipping to all in favor. I told y'all I don't know the rules. I'm just like, look, are we done?
Jenny seconded it. I saw a hand.
All right. Adam said it. Joanna seconded. All in favor? Okay, Joanna, I'm guessing your hand is up. You're typing. All right. Thank you all. It's nice to see you guys. I am sorry that I missed the December meeting. I found out about 30 minutes before the meeting that my mother passed away. So I was not in a state where I could come, and I've been in Ohio for a while. So I appreciate you understanding that I missed that meeting. But it's good to see you guys all tonight, and I will see you in February. Have a good night. Thanks, guys.
Night, guys.